everybody. So today we're going to try a new recipe. It is shepherd's pie. Just add water. These are the coolest recipes ever, and they're just really fun and easy to make. Now, I did get everything out, and I was kind of figuring out all the measurements. So these are my own recipes that I've created. Anyway, so yeah, I've been working on a recipe book. It's the type of book where you keep it at your home and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm snowed in and I can't get to the store, but I really want some cream cheese, you know, and you ran out. So you make it at home. Or you really want to have some homemade ketchup, you know, you just ran out of ketchup. You make your own ketchup at home. You know, whatever it is. And of course, it goes for a breakfast or a dinner or a dessert. Bread, sauces, seasoning mixes, you know, homemade cleaning supplies, and on and on. So it's all going to be in my book. So I'm working on getting that finished. And in the process, I have to kind of try out my recipes that I create and obviously test them, make sure they work. Have my kids taste them, see if they're edible and all that. So for shepherd's pie, we're going to have just a couple different steps. It's going to have to be two parts because we'll have one part for the mashed potatoes and then the other part for the meat, tomato sauce, and vegetables. And I'll just kind of mix those together. And then we'll have, you know, the potatoes on top, obviously. So what I want to do is actually start with the mashed potato portion and then we'll set that aside. All right, so we're using all dry ingredients today. The first thing we need is 2 cups of instant mashed potatoes. Okay, I'm going to use a Ziploc bag. This is probably a little smaller than I would prefer to have, obviously. But this is 2 cups of instant mashed potatoes. And then 3 tablespoons of butter or margarine powder. This is just a powder, okay? 1/3 cup of powdered milk. So this is your instant dry milk. And then 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I like to add a little bit of sugar in my mashed potatoes. So 3/4 teaspoon of sugar, it's probably enough. Okay. Oh, and if you wanted to add pepper or something, I guess we could do that too. And I'm not going to count that right now. I'm just going to, should be enough for 6 people. So just however much pepper you like for your family. All right, so this portion I'm going to set aside because I want to make sure you guys know how to seal these so that you can use them on a camp out. You can use them in your food storage, either short-term or long-term storage. You're going to need to learn how to seal them and preserve them for that purpose. So I'll show you how to put them together, and then after that, we'll cook it up and taste it, okay? So the second section or part of this recipe is the main meat and all of that. Okay, we're going to be sealing this recipe today in a Mylar bag because it is for 6 full servings and I want to make sure it's going to fit nicely. It's too much food to fit in a quart jar. So we're going to use a Mylar bag instead. So the 2 cups of beef TVP, you can just put straight into your Mylar bag. One cup of tomato powder, and I'm using the Honeydale brand. Okay. And 1.5 cups of dehydrated vegetables. Now for me, I ran out of all of my freeze-dried green beans. So I only got a little bit on the bottom. and I got some onion flakes in here, some freeze-dried peas, and dehydrated carrots. So normally when I make shepherd's pie, I just do plain green beans. I don't do the mixed vegetables like some people do, but today that's what we're gonna have to do. Just as long as it's about 1.5 cups worth of your dehydrated or freeze-dried vegetables. See, you know, honestly, when you look at the difference between freeze-dried and dehydrated vegetables, they do reconstitute to different sizes or different measurements. So depending on what you're making, you may need to take that into consideration, but for this recipe, it's not going to really matter. So it's okay that I have both types of dehydrated foods in there. It's fine. Okay. Tomato powder, beef TVP, and vegetables. And then we're just going to do our seasonings, obviously, because we're using just plain tomato powder. I always put some extra sugar in my tomato sauce. One tablespoon of sugar. 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt going in the Mylar bag. 1 teaspoon of basil. 1 teaspoon of oregano. And then I'm going to tell you my secret ingredients for my tomato sauce. Dun, da, da, da. Nutmeg and cinnamon. I'm not joking. It makes it amazing. I'm just going to put a little bit. Oh, for goodness sakes, this isn't opened yet. That smells good. It just makes it more hearty, like it just makes you want more when you put it in here. You can't taste that there's cinnamon in it. You're just like, man, this is good. I want more. It just makes it great. Okay, so a few sprinkles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm making a big old mess. Okay, and then maybe a little bit easier on the nutmeg, maybe about 3 or 4 sprinkles. Okay, it's a little bit stronger. All right, so the next step is to put your mashed potato mixture in your bag here down inside the Mylar. Okay. So then we would seal this up. You can use an iron or a curling iron. You just basically get some heat and you come across about 1/2 inch to 1 inch down all the way across, and that is going to seal it. Oh, don't forget to put inside of your Mylar an oxygen pack. Don't forget your oxygen pack or it's not going to seal it worth a darn. It might last about a year in here, but if you want it to last 5 to 10 years, you have to put your oxygen pack in here, okay? And then you seal it up, all right? I'm not going to actually show you how to seal it this time. It's really quite self-explanatory. You just, like I say, apply some heat here, and then, because like there's a little bit of plastic lining, and that will melt and kind of like stick, and it just keeps it nice and shut for you. And then the oxygen pack will remove any of the oxygen that's remaining in here, and then that's going to keep it from growing any sort of bacteria, and that's what makes it last for such a long time. So, okay, now that I showed you how to get your mixtures ready and how to seal it, we're going to start cooking it. Okay. Pull out the mashed potato mixture, put that in a separate dish. And add to the mashed potato mixture 2.5 cups hot water. Give it a little stir and let it sit. Okay, let me show you how this mashed potatoes turned out. You can see that they're nice and thick. They're not too thin, but they're still really fluffy. Okay. You can see. They're actually really nice and soft. So, and they taste great. A lot of times mashed potatoes, like the instant mashed potatoes, are just gross. This is actually the mashed potato. This is actually the dehydrated mashed potatoes from my church. So it's going to be from the Bishop Storehouse, if any of you are familiar with that. So that's just what brand it is, if you wanted to know. And then, like I say, I just added my own measurements to this, and it turned out great. Okay, so now let's reconstitute the main part of this meal. Just dump it into your casserole. It's all right that this part is mixed up. I know normally when we make shepherd's pie, we do it in pretty little layers and everything, but come on, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then we need to add just the right amount of water here. 5 cups of hot water or boiling water. I am planning on cooking this in my oven. I'm not cooking it in a Dutch oven today or anything like that. So I didn't use boiling water. But if you were, you know, on a camp out or something, you could probably just put your boiling water in here and let it sit, and you wouldn't even have to cook it. Yeah, that is what I just said. Boiling water, you let this sit, it's going to reconstitute and just puff up just the way you want it, and it'll still be warm when it's ready. So you don't even have to cook it. I know, I totally just said that. It's amazing. This is smelling so good with all the seasonings in here. I'm just going to whisk it together for a little while to make sure that all of the tomato powder is, you know, evenly dispersed through here and broken up. Sometimes it gets in little lumps. Okay, and then I only added 4 cups of water right now, and I'm just going to wait and make sure that it can take the last cup of water. So, you know, 4 to 5 cups of water is what I'm doing here. It may look really runny right now, but you have to remember that none of the vegetables or the TVP have actually fully reconstituted yet. So the longer you let this sit, the hotter your water is, okay, the more moisture is going to get into the vegetables and everything. So after it sits a little bit more or cooks or however you do it, it's going to slowly get softer and softer and thicker and thicker. So you do need to remember that when you're using this kind of food. It's actually thickening up right before my eyes. Looks great. I think to make sure that all the vegetables are really soft, I will need that last cup of water. So 5 whole cups is what we're going to use. I'm just checking for lumps and everything. And then I'll show this up close in just a second.
Look how full it is.
Keep going. I think it would be best to like pipe it on so you're not squishing. If you had more, you could plop it too and you wouldn't even have to spread it as much. So as you could tell, I clearly didn't have enough mashed potatoes, so I went ahead and doubled the mashed potato amount, and then it's perfect. I'm going to show you. You can see it's a pretty good balance here. And it's some of it did squish down into it, remember, in the center, so it's pretty thick. And just to prove to you that you don't have to stick this in the oven, yes, I just said that, I'm going to taste it. Now remember, I only used hot water. I didn't use boiling water. So it's cold right now, but it's soft. Okay, all the vegetables that I put in here are soft. Now, if I would have used boiling water, it would have been soft and warm. So it totally works. Get down in here to a nice scoop. Good balance of potatoes and and meat and tomato and vegetables there. The meat's all soft. I can taste the peas and carrots, and it's really good, guys. Okay? So, remember that with something like this, that you're going to want to make your own seasonings. You might want a little more salt, you might want a little more sugar, you might want a little more herbs here or there. Now, I will tell you that I am going to still cook this in the oven because, like you know, a shepherd's pie is really good if it gets to that boiling level for a few minutes. Now, that's because I didn't already put boiling water in here. Maybe the flavors would have been just a little bit more combined if I had used the actual boiling water. So I'm going to go ahead and bake mine at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes or so, but I'm also going to top cheese on top of mine. Now, I'm going to cheat today and I'm going to use fresh cheese, but you could totally use your dehydrated or freeze-dried cheese, reconstitute that first, then put it on top and melt it. If you put it on top after having your boiling water in here and everything, and then you sealed it with like saran wrap or put a lid on it or something, I'm sure that cheese would melt for you and you still wouldn't have to cook it even if you wanted the cheese. This is a totally awesome recipe, really versatile, guys, really useful for when you're really needing to live with very little in case you were using it for food storage. Of course, if it was on a camp out or something, it would be totally useful to not have to have an oven. So I hope you guys really like it. I'll show you the finished result once I pull it out with the melted cheese on it, and I'll let you know how my kids like it too. So. Going to be our taste tester. Okay, what is it like? Chew it up first. We're waiting.
I know there's potatoes and cheese and meat and maybe some beans. There's something squishy.
Okay, take a small bite. Hey, what do you think? You like it?
Mm-hmm.
You got some on your face? On that side. Do you want more? Are you hungry? That's your dinner for tonight, you know.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Richard.
-5 stars.
Hey.